Okay, sorry I was having some problems. Welcome everybody. Who's here with me today? Happy Monday, February 1st. Who's here? I'd love to know who's here. Let me know if you're here. I'm going to be talking about Summary Sunday today, and I'm looking forward to that. You are here with me. There may be a little bit of a delay, so let me know. Can you hear me okay? Can you hear me? All right. Well, I'll wait for couple seconds. You know what I'm going to do while I'm waiting? I know I'm just getting started a little bit. Here is the link to the Summary Sunday. So I am hoping that you all can follow along with me. The theme and sort of the topic of this week's Summary Sunday was exploring careers and transitioning. And I had some fun selecting the VW bus because I think about how people dread this job search. They don't look forward to it at all. It's like a root canal. There are all these awful things. It's not a fun process. And I'll be the first to admit it's not a fun process. However, if you shift your thinking and say, this isn't going to be fun, this is too hard, to, hey, maybe I'll meet some interesting people, maybe I'll learn something new, maybe this will be a good experience, just maybe you'll have a better time with this. And I also, you know, want you to pay attention to some of the articles that I've quoted because I pay attention to where I source my articles from. I know when you Google stuff online, you don't always get the best material or the most authoritative, and there are a lot of great resources out there, but I try and make it easy for you to find some of the best content. Hey, Heidi, good to see you. So I sound a little different, huh, Michael? I hope you can hear me okay. Let me just check audio real quick. Oh, hey, is that better? Wait, is that better? I don't know. We'll see. Okay, so this week's Summary Sunday, there were several articles in here, as there always are. The first one was had resources for career transition. The next article was how to read between the line of job postings, how to cope during long-term unemployment, samples of interview thank you messages, networking on LinkedIn tips, and how workers feel about their jobs right now. Were there any of these that sort of jumped out at you or you were immediately attracted to? Because I'll tell you, there were a couple that got my attention. The first was this list on Business Insider of 15 classes, books, and podcasts to help with your career transition. Honestly, a lot of them I'd not heard of before. Some of them were good reminders. Um, so did anything in that sort of collection of resources catch your attention? Because here's the thing I want you to think about. We are all going to be transitioning to a new something, whether it's a new job, a new career, a new company. And transition in most cases is difficult for us, for humans. And you will be going through a transition again in the future. So whatever you can learn today will make it that much easier for you to be ready to transition the next time this happens. So that's why I'm hoping that you bookmark this or come back and take a look at it and get some of the resources. There was a book in here, and I'd forgotten about this book called Design Your Life. So if you are one of those people that is looking to make a major shift and you're not quite sure what that looks like, Design Your Life might be there. And it's a book, and it's also a course on edX, I think. I was exposed to that a couple of years ago, and I thought it was a really different way of looking at a career transition. Instead of starting with, okay, what are your skills? Where are they going to match up? What do you like doing? It takes a more, a bigger look, a broader look at who you are. And it starts with, what is your purpose? And getting you to explore and define what your purpose is. Because when you align your purpose with the work that you're doing, there's going to be a lot more happiness. And there are actually a lot more ways you can use what it is that gives you purpose. So Design Your Life is one of those books, courses that is another way of looking at that whole transition. Any other sources? The other thing that I want to draw your attention to, and this is worth everybody doing, and it really only takes maybe 10 minutes, maybe not even that long, maybe 5 minutes. The Skills Matcher assessment on Career One Stop. If you haven't played with this already, will you please go do that? And again, because it's such a good tool, and I'm pretty certain that anybody you might run into that's in job search would benefit. So this is a great source to share with people. It's the Career One Stop Skills Matcher. So I'm not going to give you a whole tutorial, but in essence, what it does is you specify all these different skills that you enjoy using and on what level. So it's sort of a grading system. And then you will see a list of jobs that use that skill, or that combination of skills, that are real jobs that actually have job postings attached with it. Now, I'm not saying, and they're not saying, that every single one of those jobs would be a perfect shift for you, but it might give you new ideas. Not only that, it also tells you, I think, the educational level required for that type of job, as well as salary, a salary range. So it does give you a lot of information. It's a great brainstorming. And if you find a career that you're interested in, then you can take the next steps of talking to somebody who works in that career, and they can give you more insight and things like that. So Skills Matcher. Yes. Designing Your Life, Michael Levin, thank you for sharing that. It's a great book. So it's another resource. So definitely check that out. And thank you, David Lee. Good to see you here. I think you sent me a message in my LinkedIn inbox, and I haven't gotten to it, David, but I will. I promise. I promise. So I haven't totally forgotten about you. Switchers by Don Graham, Dr. Don Graham. And she has a lot of experience working with switchers, and I love her fresh perspective. She's not academic, though she works in academia. She has just a really refreshing way about her. So I'm glad you mentioned that. Switchers is another good resource. Then there was the article on Harvard Business Review, what job description jargon is actually saying. And I want all of you to read that, because I think we are our own worst enemies when it comes to job postings. Either that or we don't read them at all. And I've written a lot about how job seekers just don't they don't know how to analyze or interpret job postings. So this article was really helpful. I think it will give you more, make you feel more confident when you do apply for a job, then you don't meet all the criteria, because quite honestly, it's almost impossible for you to meet all of the requirements of a job. The rough rule of thumb is, if you meet more than 60% of the job requirements, then go ahead and apply. And I'll even use roughly. If you have 30 or 60% of the job requirements, go ahead and apply. Two reasons for that. And I talked to a lot of recruiters. Number one, recruiters do not know how to write job postings very well, and they're not always very clear in explaining exactly what they're looking for. Hopefully we'll see that get better. But that's reason one. So they're writing these things and they're not doing a really good job. And you, the job seeker, you may not have done it in that industry or in that particular company that has its own jargon, right? But that doesn't mean that you can't do it. You just need to learn more. And the company doesn't want to waste time talking to people unless they have that minimum criteria. Well, you don't know. So go ahead and apply, because you might be just the best thing they've ever seen. Um, the next article was by Jack Kelly on Forbes, and he's been writing an awful lot lately. And I really have been enjoying his stuff on Forbes. So the beginning part is sort of doom and gloom, right? It's really actually, it starts out by talking about millions of Americans face discrimination for being long-term unemployed. Here's how to fight back. So I'm going to jump straight to here's how to fight back. These are the things that Jack recommends you do so that you don't get caught in that downward spiral of self-doubt and all of that other stuff that goes through your mind, which really hurts you. So a fresh start. Come to terms with the job loss. In other words, you've got to put that stuff behind you. If you are not mentally optimistic about this job search, it's going to come across in everything that you say, do, and write. So you're going to need to say, okay, what happened in the past is in the past. I am now turning over a new leaf, and let me give the impression and let me believe that everything's going to work out. Life is good. I just need to find a next spot for me. The other thing that he talks about is getting seen on LinkedIn and other social media outlets, reach out to recruiters, be able to articulate your elevator pitch, all of that stuff that you know you need. He says this is a chance to create a new you. So I don't know if any of you remember this, but at one point in your life, you had to reinvent yourself, whether that was when you went off to college or when you started your first job or at some other point. You had to reinvent and decide, what is the new me? What do I want to be known for? How do I want to present myself? That's a choice we all get to make, and we can do that at any time. It's easier to do when we're starting fresh. And there are, people aren't, you're not stuck in a job that only sort of knows you as one thing. So this is a chance for you to build from the ground up this new reputation and this new way in which you want to be perceived. You determine that. And I think that that's really helpful. Yes, you can reposition and represent yourself without lying, right? So that was Jack Kelly's article on how to fight back. There was an article on the Muse written about and sample emails on thanking people after the interview. And she calls it an email. And I will say that sending an email after the job interview is super important. But I will say it's even better to send a message through the US mail. Do you remember what a message through the US mail looks like? It doesn't need to be an envelope, but like that big. But do you remember when you actually got mail? There is something tangible about mail that makes people more likely to remember you. We don't get that much anymore. So yes, go ahead, use her amazing template to write your thank you email, but then go the extra mile, go above and beyond to prove that you're interested in the job by sending them a message in the US mail. That can be typewritten, it could be handwritten, but it is business correspondence. It's not just a fluffy, thank you so much for the interview. Anybody could write that. You have to include more information in there, some reference to the interview conversation. During our interview, we discussed some of the challenges that your company is facing, and I just wanted to remind you, how I've solved a similar problem in my last company. And I look forward to being able to talk with you more about that as we progress through the interview process. So your thank you message is two. Actually, one is email, which gets there immediately, and then the other one that is going to go through the US mail, which will get there in about 2 or 3 days. So do both, okay? This article on the Muse is for the email template, so you don't want to send an exact duplicate, the same message, email, and through the US mail, you're going to have to make them slightly different. So if you have any questions about that. The next article was by Bob McIntosh on things career related, and he asked 6 different career professionals, people who do what I do, for their best tips on how to network on LinkedIn. And that's the thing. People in my field, these career experts, we actually practice what we preach. We're networking all the time. We are in constant contact with job seekers as well as potential business clients and recruiters. So we do a significant amount of networking, so we know how to do this. So go read Bob's article so that you have a better idea of what it takes. Okay. And then the last article was just on workplace trends. It was a survey that LinkedIn did, but I found it sort of interesting because it showed how people felt about their jobs. And the first, it's at the very bottom of that article, but I sort of thought it was an indicator of their confidence and the percentage of people who felt stressed about their jobs. And usually when we have people who feel confident about their job, people in finance have a very good feel of, okay, what's the state of the company? And under human resources, finance was the second highest. So 44 on the scale of 1 to 100, which was pretty good. Well, actually, negative 100 to 100. So 44 was the score of people in finance. Business development, if people who are in the company in a business development role, their job is to generate new business, which means more money for the company. So again, another good trend is if people in business development feel confident in their work, and they were third. And human resources was first. And when people in human resources feel confident about their work, that means that things are going well for them. When companies are always downsizing or they're figuring out how to move people around inside the organization, that's not that company. People in HR would not feel confident. So the fact that human resources, finance, and business development all feel confident about their individual workplace contributions, that to me is a good sign. They also are very stressed. So but they're not the most stressed. They're just stressed. And I don't think you can go through any kind of change or any kind of growth and not feel stressed. So I'm thinking it's a good stress and not a bad stress. Were there any questions on those articles that I shared this week? Any that you really liked? Any that you wanted more explanation or wanted me to go in more depth into? So the next section of my summary Sunday was sort of a link to some of my colleagues' books. That I can't believe that the beginning part of this year has been such a big year for book launches. I guess people had some extra time while they were cooped up with COVID. But a shout out to Laura Smith, for his Redefining HR. Carrie Twigg, good job on Career Stories Method. Eric Derby, Recruiter Secrets, Insider Tips to Your Job Search. Eric Derby's here in Rochester. He is a recruiter. He's been giving presentations and helping job seekers for a long time. He's got his heart in the right spot. And he actually asked me to write the foreword for his book. So it was nice to have that honor. Deborah Morey is another dear friend originally from Rochester. She's now out west, but she wrote an article designed for sort of the fresh college graduates or people in college called An Authentic Human's Guide to Finding Meaningful Work. And it's helping reframe how they look at meaningful work so that they're not holding on to their parents' ideas of what careers and jobs mean. And then, of course, there's Rosa Smith Montanaro, who has re-released her book, Mind Over Platter. She wrote this book years and years ago. She's updated that. Train your brain to think thin, and that is her passion. She does a lot of other great projects, but her real passion is reprogramming the brain for a healthier lifestyle when it comes to food consumption. So there you go. So all of those books were published in the last like 30 days. Isn't that incredible? That's an awful lot of books being published at one point. So if you have any interest, you can check out those books if any of them work for you. Any other thoughts that you all have about job search and what's going on with you? I want to answer your questions. Okay. Well, it was great having you all here today. Things seem to have calmed down a little bit. It makes life a little bit less dramatic to have things a little bit calmer on the international, national front. So fingers crossed that things stay the way they are and that we can just get through and stay focused on our job search and what we need to do to get that done. Make it a great week. Build those schedules out. Have an awesome day. Okay. Thank you all so much for being with me here today. Take care.